Coming up on the show, PNG's National Broadband Network, the nationwide project that will increase internet speeds while hopefully bring down internet costs.
It's high speed, so it will give a better customer experience, quicker downloads, and hopefully at a cheaper price.
We'll have that story shortly. But first, as business and entrepreneurship gets bigger in today's world, the issue of gender equality continues. More women are actually involved in business now, with some holding key positions. Although a lot of work still needs to be done, PNG has been addressing the issue quite effectively. Women getting into business in a male-dominated culture is very challenging indeed. But there are some courageous women who are taking the lead in this and encouraging other women to do so. The U.S. Embassy in Port Moresby, together with the Department for Community Development, hosted the PNG Women's Forum last week, coinciding with the International Women's Day. One of the topics that came up was growing entrepreneurship amongst women in Papua New Guinea.
In a broadly patriarchal society, Papua New Guinea of 2014 is rapidly evolving to become uniform with the Western world in terms of women's rights and opportunities. In the world of business, more and more women are being promoted to positions of leadership in both private, not-for-profit organizations, as well as owning and managing their own businesses. This is a large contrast compared to a few decades before, when the norm was for men to be the breadwinner of a family, while the woman's role was to tend to the home and support her family and husband. Recently, to advance gender justice and opportunity, the U.S. Embassy in Port Moresby and the government of Papua New Guinea's Department for Community Development co-hosted the PNG Women's Forum in the nation's capital. The two-day forum was attended by women from all walks of life as they discussed and created solutions to issues affecting women today, such as empowering women in the workplace, creating opportunities for women entrepreneurs, and empowering the next generation of women leaders. The first of its kind event saw women, young and old, from all walks of life working together with government, international and private sector representatives to articulate and advance a bold agenda to meet the needs of today's women. A panel discussion with the topic Getting Women into Business was heavily discussed by the panelists and participants, with key questions being answered such as what role financial inclusion and access to capital play in spurring entrepreneurship. With 85% of the nation's population based in rural areas, and half of that being women, the question is how can women in these areas gain access to the opportunities available, and how can they be educated with the know-how to use these tools? Panelist Nuni Kulu, Bank South Pacific's area manager for the southern region, had this to say on the matter.
What we've taken as an approach towards SME is starting with basics. We need to encourage our sole traders, our women folk, the SME segment, to come and open up a bank account and put your funds in the account. Just by opening up a bank account doesn't guarantee you'll get access to capital immediately, but we feel that if we start to nurture our SME segment with the basics of a bank account and provide added service of an FPOS in their shop front or having mobile and internet banking, this introduces them into the formal banking system.
Central Bank Governor Loy Bakani, the only male panelist, discussed the Bank of Papua New Guinea's plans for financial inclusion and financial literacy.
I think we need more of the financial survey, financial literacy for our people, for our adults, women especially in Papua New Guinea. So this is the basis where we have now strategized in a lot of ways to run financial inclusion, number one, to make it accessible, make financial services accessible to Papua New Guineans, especially where the 85% or 80% of our people are in the rural areas. So accessibility is number one.
While significant progress has been made in expanding access to financial services for women, there is still more that needs to be done. The overarching goal of the panel was not only to provide these tools of business, but also to pave a way for these women to enter the business arena. PNG ranks poorly, 131 out of 181 countries, on the World Bank Doing Business indicator, getting credit, and women entrepreneurs face unique hurdles. While salaried women can get loans on their own through formal banks, unsalaried women require a salaried husband as guarantor. This is an issue for unmarried or widowed women. Another well-known issue is that women tend to face greater pressure from wantoks for money, which makes it difficult for them to save or meet loan repayments. Despite these challenges, one of the guest speakers at the event, Dr. D.T. Ogilvie, Dean and Professor of Business Strategy at the Saunders College of Business at the Rochester Institute of Technology, shared her thoughts regarding the potential of PNG women becoming successful entrepreneurs in the country's male-dominated private sector.
And I was very encouraged to see that you do have women who are going into business, who are going into politics. And it takes courage to do that in the face not only of gender discrimination, but going against cultural norms where women are not supposed to be achieving and where people are supposed to be kind of all the same. It takes a great deal of courage. So I think you have the potential. It's not going to be easy. I think there's a lot of education that needs to be done. The violence against women needs to stop. Part of that may be creating more economic parity.
According to numerous female entrepreneurs, PNG women operate in a man's world, which makes it hard for them to do business.
We're absolutely terrified, and in fact, women are making up all of the informal sector. Women's businesses need to graduate to formal. Women's businesses need to be doing well enough that they're contributing to society through taxes. Women's businesses need to be able to be doing well enough that they're paying superannuation and employing people.
Successful women entrepreneurs tend to be landowners, educated, have supportive husbands and families, and have a strong character. Just as efforts to improve women's political status and participation have highlighted the need to include educating and raising awareness among men, the process of women's economic development needs to involve men and its implications discussed with them.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page. After the break, PNG's National Broadband Network. Welcome back to the program. Advancements in technology have played a massive part in the growth of businesses around the world, and at the heart of this technological advancement is the Internet. The use of the Internet has transformed societies, and today it has become such a powerful tool, so crucial that some businesses simply cannot do without. Many countries are now developing even faster means of accessing the web, while reducing the cost of accessing it for its users. PNG is building its very own national broadband network, which is expected to increase internet speeds while bringing down the cost of using it. But getting this infrastructure up and running is no easy job. Lian Jorari with more.
There's been a lot of debate about whether Papua New Guinea is falling behind the rest of the world on broadband speeds. Upgrading to the latest networking technology is essential for a faster internet in the long run. But a country's average speed is also affected by another factor, affordability. A high-speed plan will do nothing for the customers if its prices is out of reach for ordinary consumers. And as it is common knowledge, Papua New Guineans have been plagued with extremely high internet costs, to the point that access to home internet networks is seen as a luxury, and most internet users resort to surfing the web on their mobile phones. As one internet user puts it, the charges are incredibly high and unjustifiable. Many businesses have also been struggling due to this high internet rates, and it is seen as a hindrance. Deloitte PNG managing partner, Lutz Heim, shared his concerns with Business Advantage PNG late last year. He stated that for their Port Moresby office, using 200 gigabytes of internet per month cost the firm a massive $15,000, while at his house in Australia, close to only $83 for 500 gigabytes. Compared to other countries in the region, Papua New Guinea's internet service rate is relatively high. For instance, 2 gigabytes per month in Fiji costs around $10 to $13, while the same costs approximately $86 to $102 in PNG.
Firstly, cost is something that we consciously are trying to bring down. And I'm the first one to agree that internet costs are very high in Papua New Guinea still. But we are burdened with infrastructure costs from the past, less usage, so it's a supply and demand thing. So the idea is to continuously drop the prices, and we're reviewing it. We've got a very extensive exercise going on internally to review our cost structure, and the prices are going to tumble, on a regular basis. And the advantage with this new technology is that if you're using internet on fixed line now, the new one that will come on in ADSL 2 Plus will be at least 10 times faster. And if you compare it to, say, wireless internet, that will be at least 20-25 times faster. So it's high speed. So it will give a better customer experience, quicker downloads, and hopefully at a cheaper price.
Before the contract between Telecom PNG and Huawei was even signed, eager anticipation had already begun building for the improvements in internet and telecommunication services the national broadband network could provide. The deal will enable Telecom to offer greater broadband speeds to citizens and provide new services like e-health, e-education, digital TV, and e-government applications, while also providing a new backbone for fixed and mobile services. Mahesh Patel said the signing signals a new and exciting chapter for Papua New Guinea that will be rolled out in the coming months.
Right now, as you know, internet penetration is only about 2% in the country. And with this new technology coming in now, hopefully there'll be more people using it. It's an example to say the pipe is this big. We can use as much as we want, but we need more users for us because it costs hundreds of millions of kina to get the infrastructure done. So if it's only 1,000 people, for argument's sake, using it, we can't amortize it with that. So we need hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people using it so that we can get efficiency of the pipe.
The NBN, which will include a 4G mobile broadband service covering the urban centers in the country, is expected to offer modern and affordable ICT nationwide. The project will also provide ADSL 2 Plus broadband to over 80,000 premises in Papua New Guinea, while a further 8,000 locations will be connecting to gigabit passive optical network with speeds of up to 100 megabits per second.
I think the program has started. We will be launching. It's a very large project. It's going to go on for at least a couple of years or 3 years at least, because to cover the terrain of the country. So the first batch of our fiber optics rollout in Port Moresby has started. We hope to launch it commercially in the next 2 to 3 weeks around Port Moresby.
A new high-speed broadband backbone consisting of a long-haul microwave transmission network will also offer open access to the country's fixed and mobile broadband operators. This will allow for faster and more reliable fixed and mobile broadband across the country and serve Papua New Guinea's future broadband capacity needs. When dealing with Papua New Guinea's rugged terrains, naturally, many challenges are posed, in particular setting up the telecommunications infrastructure in the remote areas of the country inaccessible by roads.
And you know, Papua New Guinea is very unique in that sense with all our mountains and the the forests and the spread of people across the country. That I think will cause the time lapse as well, delays in things. So it's really the logistics and the terrain which is the biggest challenge. Because technology these days, it's better because it's all IP based. So our tracking, our national operating centers and stuff will be easily done once the infrastructure is set in place.
Don't go away. We'll have more on the National Broadband Network when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Business PNG. PNG's telecommunications market was under state monopoly for decades before undergoing liberalization recently. This directly resulted in a rapid increase in the telecommunications sector's value and even some contribution to the country's GDP growth. Like any other big project, establishing the national broadband network is facing many challenges, and it requires a lot of hard work to get it over the line. A lot of business activity is going along with it, and various companies are engaged in the project.
The National Broadband Network will be managed and operated by a new specific purpose state-owned enterprise, PNG Datacom Limited, whose role will be to act as a wholesaler of network services across PNG.
Datacom will essentially now coordinate the major backbone business or the assets that are owned by the state, the first and foremost in partnership with other partners in the LNG project, including Southern Islands, of course, in the ownership of the fiber cable that runs from Como down to Port Moresby, and through the upgrading work of the PNG Power power lines that IPBC has been working on with Datacore. We intend to connect this all fiber network from Medang all the way to Como down to Port Moresby. And then we'll begin the process of connecting all other centers through this much more bigger access to traffic that even both Digicel and B-Mobile and Telecom are struggling to bring today. So we want to allow the eventual end users, who are the consumers that really pay for the upkeep of all this infrastructure, to get much bigger access, cheaper access, and reliable access to communication data in a network that should really be more geared towards serving the consumers.
Dataco will own and operate the network as a wholesale provider of telecommunications, primarily consisting of Telecom's existing domestic microwave, satellite and optical fiber networks with the international gateways Port Moresby and Lae, and optical fiber submarine cable international links, as well as PNG Power's optical fiber ground wire throughout Papua New Guinea. And finally, the government's interest in a 750-kilometer optical fiber cable being built to support the PNG LNG project.
I think the government now really needs to look at how we can consolidate the government's interests and the government future thinking in terms of where it wants to go in the telecommunication sector. That is why we are now moving in this direction to set up this company that hopefully will begin the process of assisting the government in clearly separating the different aspects of business in the ICT sector.
Dataco's board members were sworn in last week and include knowledgeable personnel from the telecommunication and ICT sector, including Mahesh Patel, chairman of Telecom PNG, and Joseph Kim, former director of engineering standards at NICTA, the National Information and Communications Technology Authority.
The entity will be required to meet community service obligations, for which a policy is being developed, as well as consolidating the state's telecommunication assets, thus rendering Telecom PNG to act as a retailer of ICT services to retail customers.
After half a century of state monopoly control, the telecommunications market in Papua New Guinea underwent liberalization in 2007, resulting in a rapid increase in the sector's value and contributing an estimated 2.5% to annual GDP growth in 2010. Largely abandoning the constraints of land-based fixed-line telephone networks, the people of PNG have devotedly embraced mobile technologies that have revolutionized the economy and domestic consumer behavior, tapping into vast and dense population. With a market share of approximately 1.6 million subscribers, covering 30% of PNG's area and 75% of its population, Digicel has sustained rapid growth since 2007 and has made competitors wary of its increasing dominance in the market. This dominance in the mobile market has fueled a strategic action plan by the company in the acquisition of the majority of the nation's very small aperture terminals, or VSATs. The company has already purchased Datanet and Remington ISP and VSAT, and recently Deltron ISP and VSAT.
I think if you look at back to when we started, you're correct, it was only mobile services, but around about 2012 we introduced 3G services, which are data services. They're used by residential customers, corporate customers. As we move on in the business, our aim is to become a full service provider. So it's similar to a telecom who provides all services to customers, whether that's their PABX, whether that's their voice, corporate data. So really since 2012 we've been moving down that path with all our data services. Those acquisitions are part of that strategy, realistically, to be able to provide a corporate customer with the full breadth of service. What we have in our network is we have about 780 towers across PNG. That means we can pretty much reach everybody. Where we miss out on those, we introduce VSAT services. So Remington was a natural extension to make sure we could actually reach everybody in PNG. Similar, we actually work with the likes of Deltron. They are now selling Digicel services out there. So the good part about that was we actually gave them access to all of our network, all of our services. So it increased their breadth of service offerings to their customer, and then strengthens them and strengthens us as well.
With the company's plans to buy into the wholesale retail of the NBN, as well as the majority share in the VSAT market, Digicel is gearing up to be serious competition with Telecom PNG regarding internet and communication services. The 600 million kina development represents a new start for telecommunications, which is one of the most important drivers of national development. Telecommunications has been an obstacle to growth and prosperity, and the NBN plan is a way to remove that obstacle and spur new growth.
And that's all we have for you tonight. Make sure to visit our webpage using the address now shown on your screen. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Until next week, I'm Dennis Orere. Have a pleasant evening, and this is Business PNG.